bring in Megan Greene, Senior Fellow at Harvard Kennedy School. Megan, it's great to have you with us tonight. How do you look at that 33% savings rate? Is that good in that Americans, once we reopen, will be able to spend more? Or is it bad in that it signals that their behavior is very risk averse?
Look, so it's 1 month worth of data, and we can't really extrapolate entirely into the future on that. I would say the good side is that it shows that we managed to get money where it was needed in some degree. So the fiscal transfers have been effective, you could argue. The bad side is nobody's been spending anything. And if you actually look at some of my colleague at Harvard's, Raj Chetty's data, he's basically taking big data from the private sector in some cases and cleaning it and making it publicly available. And if you look at spending for states that have reopened, it actually looks identical to states that haven't yet reopened. So Georgia, which was one of the first states to reopen, spending looks very similar to New York's spending, and New York hasn't actually reopened. And that suggests that people don't really feel confident yet to go out and behave anything like normal. How long will that last? That's the big question. Will there be sort of scarring for consumers, much like there was after the global financial crisis? I think it's very likely there will be. And last time around, after the global financial crisis, we saw all kinds of changes in consumption patterns, particularly around housing. You know, household formation took forever to come back. I think we'll find that there was scarring this time around too. And businesses who have taken out these PPP loans, for example, who have made it through this deep freeze period, are trying to open back up, making assumptions about demand, and that's just really tricky. So what we might see is that businesses that made it through the deep freeze are going to open back up, find there is no demand, and we might see another round of defaults.
Well, let's talk about that very issue, Megan. If you could stay with us, we've got a local business owner who is dealing with questions about demand. And this very question of whether when she reopens, people will be coming in. Let's bring in Ashlee Kleinschmidt, the owner of Moi Salon. They do makeup services and sell a lot of product as well. Moi Makeup and Lash Bar is located in New Jersey. Ashlee, good evening. Thanks for joining us. I know you're closed right now because you're in the state of New Jersey. How are you thinking about what it's going to look like to reopen?
Honestly, I'm not really sure what it's going to look like. I'm hopeful that, customers will come to my store. We are a retail store, but we're makeup artists. We get people ready for the events that they go to. And if they're not going to an event, then will they get their makeup done? I'm not so sure. So I'm hopeful, but, I think only time will tell what it looks like when we open back up. I really won't know until then.
Megan, what would you say to someone like Ashlee when it comes to anticipating consumer demand based on what you've studied in previous recessions and based on what your expectations are this time?
Well, so this downturn is a bit different in that it was entirely intentional, right? And it's based on a global virus that no one knows much about. So I think the uncertainty is far greater this time around than it has been in the past. In the past, if we had sort of a short-term downturn, you could really count on pent-up demand coming back and fueling activity. This time around, I don't think we can probably rely on that. And so I think it's you're right to question whether people are going to go to events. I speak at a lot of events. I'm also wondering if that's ever going to happen again or how long it will take for that to happen. But also, I think in terms of your store, you have to figure out, how are you going to manage people in your establishment in a socially distanced way, which we'll have to do for a while until we have a vaccine or a treatment. And a lot of businesses are trying to work that out and are crunching the numbers. And, particularly in restaurants, for example, are figuring out, it doesn't act, we don't have a business model if we can only serve so many people. So I think a lot of services industries are facing that question too. How do we do what we used to do in a socially distanced way and still make a profit? And a lot of companies are discovering that they can't, even if the demand does come back, and that's already questionable.
Ashlee, how do you do that? Can you apply makeup services in a socially distant way?
Can you apply makeup services?
I think so. I think, limiting the amount of clients in the store at a time is a really great start. Wearing gloves, wearing a mask, wearing the face shield. We already had a lot of protocols in place to sanitize everything and to keep everything very clean. So that's not going to come new to us. We've always done that. I think just the other precautions of keeping us socially, 6 feet, maybe limiting the amount of people in the store at the same time, and letting our customers know that we're taking this seriously. We want to make sure they feel safe in our store.
Ashlee Kleinschmidt, thank you for joining us. Good luck with the reopen. Megan Greene, good to hear from you as well. We appreciate it.